Hello, I'm
Hey.
Miss Suggs. It's so nice to meet you. And you are?
I'm Andy Brown.
Okay, and you are Caitlin Brown?
Yes.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you. Are you excited about high school?
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
Yeah.
She's a
Yeah,
little nervous.
it's
Yeah, she's
okay.
definitely a little nervous.
It's okay. That's definitely normal. Well, we're going to get to the fun part in a minute, which is the part that you want to pick your classes. That's what most everybody comes here for, is I want to pick my classes. So we'll get to that in just a minute, but I want to go over a few things before we get there, just some basic information. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys one of these.
Okay.
And I'm going to use this one because I've made notes in it. But this is basically a course description guide in the back. It's got the courses. If you wanted to know what was, let's see, forest science, what it was all about, you could look in here and you could find it. Okay, so it has a description for each class that we teach here at Banks County High School. But at the front of it, it also has a lot of important information. And we will go over this every year when we do registration. So don't think that you're going to have to memorize this this
good.
year. One of the first things right here on page 3, how many units do you have to graduate?
4, 5.
No, to
No,
graduate.
2.
To graduate. 20
All
something.
4 years.
Oh, 27?
23.
23.
So less than you thought, huh?
Yeah.
All right, so you got to have 23 units in order to graduate. And you do have to have those units in specific areas. So you can't have 24 PEs. You know, you got to have some math, some science, some social studies, etc. But it equals up to 23. Okay, and so we'll keep up with that as we go through the registration process every year to make sure that you're getting enough credits to graduate. One of the things that we try to encourage all of our students to do is to follow a pathway. Now, most of the time when students think of a pathway, we think of the CTAE pathways, which you would think of like, what do y'all call them at, yes, in our
What
age,
do you call them
yes.
in middle
What do you
school?
call them at the middle school? The connections.
Yeah.
Connections.
Right,
So
right,
the CTAE stuff, that would be like your business class, or what's another class that you have there?
We have
The
like art.
art. Well,
band,
that's more fine
chorus,
arts.
stuff
But
like
okay, so but when you're thinking about pathways, there's several different ways that you can get a pathway. Now, first, before I go over those ways, you have to know that you do not have to have a pathway to graduate from high school. But most students graduate with at least one, if not 2 or 3, because it's just the way it's set up. You can get multiple pathways as you move through the school.
Get them to think about what they might want to do after high school.
Absolutely. Do you know anything that you're interested in? Do you know what you want to be when you grow up?
I don't know what I want to be, just something in like medical.
So something medical related. So you might end up having a healthcare pathway. You might take the intro to healthcare and the essentials of healthcare and some of those classes, so that by the time you graduate, you will have 3 courses in that area and you will have a healthcare pathway. Are you going to be doing languages? You're going to study Spanish, French?
Probably Spanish.
Probably
just 'cause
Spanish.
It has a teacher.
Okay, so in studying your Spanish here, if you take 3 years of a language, then you would have a language pathway. If you were to take maybe an AP English class, an AP language class, etc., some of those could help you get an academic pathway. And then you could also, like you were saying, band, chorus, etc., you could have a fine arts pathway. So it just depends on which classes you're interested in. You will end up probably having at least one without even trying. Does that make sense?
Is AP the advanced courses?
It is. That would be one of, AP stands for Advanced Placement, and we'll
Okay.
talk about that a little bit more in just a minute, but those classes would help you get the academic class, or excuse me, the academic pathway. Some of the other things that are in here, always interesting, page 6, the grade levels. In order to be considered a 10th grader, you have to earn 4 credits. Basically, you have 7 classes first semester, 7 classes second semester, and they're all half a credit apiece. So they're 3.5 units first semester and 3.5 second semester. So you should end up, assuming you pass everything, with 7 units. but you have to at least have 4 units to be considered a 10th
Yeah,
grader.
her, I don't think that's gonna be trouble. She
Yeah,
did very
all
well in
right.
middle school.
We can take away some cell phones and friends and such, right?
If need be.
If need be. Okay, now, just like in all the other schools that you've been in, we've had to take Milestones. You know what
Yes.
Milestones, you've heard of that before?
It's a big test at the end of the year.
Yes. The Milestones, some of the classes you'll have to take that. Here on page 7, it shows you, oops, turn back
far
one
down.
page. No, that's okay. On page 7 right here, it shows you that there's 8 different classes that you would have to take a milestone test in
Okay.
once you finish that class. As a 9th grader, you're gonna have to do the lit, so you'll have a lit milestone, but you won't take that until the end of the school year, because you'll have a whole year to take English. You will, haven't looked, let me look at this. Yeah, you'll be in algebra, so you're gonna have an algebra one, but again, that's gonna be at the end of the school year, so in May. And you are recommended for biology honors, so you will be taking a milestone in biology.
Busy.
Yes, sir. And I don't think, nope, you don't take one in social studies. So at the end of your 9th grade year, you're gonna end up having 3 milestone tests. Those tests count 20% of your grade. So it's not gonna kill you if you don't pass it, but it certainly could affect your grade. So, you know, if you had a 92 and you bombed the milestone, it can make you have a B in the class. So you want to make sure that you study for those, even though they're not necessarily going to make you fail. They could, or
If you
make
have a
you,
low grade.
if you have a low grade, or it could make you come from a 1 letter grade down to another letter grade. Okay, so you definitely want to keep that in mind. Pretty much the rest of this is got, oh no, I want to touch this right here, Hope Scholarship. I'm going to go ahead and hit it. As you well know, the Hope Scholarship changes all the time. Okay, the funding changes all the time, the requirements change almost yearly. There's some changes that are made. But as of right now, this is what the set of requirements are. Basically, there's 3 types of Hope funds available. You've got the Hope Grant, you've got the Hope Scholarship, and you've got the Hope, the Zell Miller, which is part of Hope. The Hope Grant generally does, well, not generally, it does not require a high school GPA, so it could be anything, and you could get the Hope Grant. It generally goes for certificate and diploma courses, so if you were going to go to North Georgia Tech and go to a certificate program or a diploma program, the Hope Grant is what would help to fund your college there. The scholarship is generally the one we think of when we think of Hope Scholarship, and generally it looks at a 3.0 GPA, so you have to graduate from high school with at least a 3.0, and then you are generally following some kind of degree program, so an associate's degree, a bachelor's degree, you're generally going to a 4-year college for that, although you could get some degree programs at a technical college, but that would be the scholarship.
I assume they help you fill out some of this paperwork
They
on the way.
do,
Okay.
they do.
Well, good.
Now, she won't need that until like junior, senior
Later on,
year,
right,
but
right.
yes, we do have financial aid nights, or a night where you can come in, and we generally have somebody from the Georgia Student Finance Commission that comes in and they help you fill out everything you gotta fill out to get these things, absolutely. So you just be on the lookout for that. So that, and then you've got the Zell Miller. The Zell Miller is kind of the top scholarship.
That's what she's aiming for.
That's what she's pushing
That's
for.
right.
Okay, so you've got to graduate from high school with a 3.7 GPA. So that's a pretty high. That's like I would say an 87. Does that make sense? It's a 3.7. A 4.0 is an A. So
Yeah.
you've got to have a high B average in order to get that GPA right there, the 3.7. It, though, pays for 100% of your tuition. Okay, so that's what Mom and Dad want you to get, definitely.
Zell Miller Scholarship.
Write that down. So anyway, there are some, now with the Zell Miller Scholarship, there are some requirements as far as the SAT. Right now it's a 1,200 you have to have, or there's ACT requirements as well. So you not only have to have that 3.7 GPA, but you also have to have the whatever the set number is for the SAT and the ACT. So it's kind of got to have both, a package deal. Okay, so that's the Hope Scholarship.
And the SAT, they'll do that their 10th, 11th grade year?
Generally, a lot of students like to take it, well, they take the PSAT their sophomore year. All sophomores do. A lot of students like to go ahead and take the SAT towards the end of their sophomore year, definitely by junior year, because you want to give yourself a couple of times to take it, just in case, you want to get that score up higher. But yeah, and we do generally have, an after-school program, and generally they can help you study for some of that. We have a great math teacher who works with students after school as well to help you prepare for that test as well. So when you get to that point, that's something that you want to definitely think about. All right, so pretty much we have, let me give you one of these things. This is kind of my checklist here. I've given you the course description guide. One of the things that we have to do, and I'm sure you've had to do this every year you've been in public education, is to fill out, sign the compulsory attendance form, which I have here somewhere. There it is. Which just basically says that you have to come to school if you're under 16, which it doesn't sound like that's going to be a problem.
She'll be here.
But if there is an issue with your attendance, if you miss more than 10 days, then you could have some legal ramifications from that. Mom and dad could get in trouble if you don't come to school. So definitely you want to make sure that you're here. That is a Georgia law that we have to follow. So we'll sign that in just a minute. Another thing, let's see, that I mentioned was the pathways, and we already mentioned that you don't have to have that to graduate, but it is something that we encourage all students to at least find one area that you're interested in. And so that is one of those that you could either do it in the CTAE, you could do it in the fine arts, the language, or the academics pathway. So that's that one. One of the things I briefly mentioned was language. We want you, since you're pushing for the Zell Miller, I'm assuming you're going to a four-year college, you're going to have 2 years of at least 2 years of a foreign language in order to go to a four-year college. It is not required to graduate from high school. So you can graduate from high school without a foreign language, or a world language as they call it now. But if you're going to go to, or you think you're going to go to a four-year college and to a degree program, you're going to want to have at least 2 years of a foreign language.
So it's much better to go ahead and do it that way.
Absolutely. Go ahead and get it out of the way.
North Georgia, she'd have to have the Spanish down in Gainesville? Like
Yes,
the Oakwood area?
UNG. She would have to have the 2 years of Spanish. If she went to Piedmont College up here in Demorest, if she went to the University of Georgia.
Any four-year college.
Any four-year college, pretty much. She's going to have that. University system is really what it is. They're going to have that 2 years of a foreign language. Okay. Hope, number 5 is hope, and we just went over some of the hope stuff, and like I said, there's more information in here if you want to read more of the fine print there. Are you in any athletic programs?
Cheerleading.
You're in cheerleading, okay. Well, there is something that we call the no pass, no play rule, which basically means that you have to be passing 5 out of 7 classes in order to participate in any competitive sport. So that is something that you will want to keep in mind there. What about extracurricular? What about clubs? Are you involved in any clubs in middle school?
FBLA.
Okay, so FBLA would be something that you might want to even compete in. Possibly there's a lot of competitions there with ag. There's a lot of competitions. So any of that competitive type of extracurricular activity, you've got to have that passing classes. You've got to be passing those classes. Now, one thing that you guys, I don't know if y'all have ever heard of the dual enrollment or move on when ready.
I've heard of that, going to college when they're still in,
Yes.
not even graduated, right?
Yes, and actually anybody starting in 9th grade can do it,
Wow,
which is
really?
crazy because they can't even drive.
Y'all have any 9th graders that do that?
You know what? that, I don't know if we do. Well, I'm not sure if we have any ninth graders who do it right now, but if they did, they would have to have a parent, I'm sure, or somebody that would transport them back and forth. But it is
And
something.
can't you do it online too?
You could. Some colleges offer online programs. What I would caution anybody on the dual enrollment is you've got to be somebody who is very organized, mature, able to control your time and keep up time management skills, basically. You would need to be somebody who doesn't have to have mom or dad right behind you going, okay, get to work, get to work. You would have to be somebody who just on your own does it because you're supposed to do it. Does that make sense? Most of the college classes obviously are a different rigor, a different level than high schools. And when you're in, if you ever take a dual enrollment class out of college, you will not be treated as a high schooler who's in college. You will be treated as a college student, regardless of if you're 14 or 18. It doesn't matter.
Maybe people a lot older.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Something we may do later on, maybe when she's a junior or
Absolutely.
senior.
So that's, that's just something maybe down the road, and you can even do it in the summertime. I didn't realize that until a couple of years ago. She could take courses starting the summer after her 9th grade year, after 10th grade year, after 11th grade year, and you could go ahead and take classes in the summer. I know you want to give up your swim time for that, right? But anyway, that is an option that we have. Let's see, I'm going to get to these after we pick our classes. So, as a 9th grader, unfortunately, and I'm sure you've already been told kind of at the middle school, you don't have a whole lot of options as a 9th grader.
No.
Okay, so
Basically,
I'm going to
your
let y'all,
electives.
I'm going to let y'all look at this one, and I'm going to look at this one. Pretty much, you have to take English, you have to take math, you have to take science, you have to take social studies, PE, and health, and so that doesn't leave a whole lot outside of that. So I'm going to
So
look.
she wouldn't do Spanish then or not?
She will not start Spanish until her 10th grade year. And she actually could start at 10th grade and go 10th, 11th, and 12th and have 3 years of a language. You can have a language pathway. Okay. So it looks like here, let me find my recommendation card. Here it is. So it looks like here for English, you are recommended for Lit 9 Honors.
She likes lit.
Oh, good. Okay, so that's an Honors A and an Honors B class. Do you know what the A and B stand for?
No.
That's first semester and second semester.
Oh, okay.
So first semester is the A courses, second semester is the B courses.
Okay.
So basically, and in a minute we'll go over the honors contract because I noticed that you're signed up for several honors classes here. Honors classes are generally a little bit more rigorous. Again, require a little bit more focus and a little bit more time management, especially if you have several of those. So that's something that you'll want to think about and make sure that you're willing to put that time in to do it, because pretty much you don't get out of them. If you sign up for it, you're going to stay in it. Now, after 9th grade, you wouldn't have to be in it. You could choose something else after 9th grade. But as a 9th grader, if we sign you up for honors, you got to have it all through 9th grade. Does that make sense? Okay, so Lit 9A and B, and then for math, your Algebra 1 Honors A
Honors there also.
and
Yeah.
Honors B. Okay, so that's your first and second semester. For science, you have been recommended for Biology Honors. So there's a A and there's a B, first and second semester. And then for social studies, you don't really have a whole lot of choices there as well. You've got civics, and you were not recommended for honors there, and you were not recommended for honors for geography. Is that something you want to do or no?
No.
Okay. So, well, some people, don't like it. Some people do like it, and some people choose not to do honors in that area because that's not an area that they excel in, possibly. So basically, civics and geography, you're going to take one of them one semester and one of them the next semester.
Okay.
I have no idea which semester you'll take which one. Some of your friends will take it civics first, and some will take civics second semester. It just kind of depends on scheduling. You don't have choice on health and PE. You have to take health and PE.
Those are the best classes.
I know. So that gives us 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and we gotta have 14. So that basically means that you have 2 elective classes to choose from. Culinary arts is not one of the options that you have as a 9th grader, and neither is intro to healthcare. So those 2 are kind of off the table for 9th graders, but you could choose those as a 10th grader.
Okay.
But we do have to pick 2 classes right now. So do you know what you might be interested in?
I was interested in the Intro to Digital Technology.
Okay, intro to digital technology. So you would have an A and a B. And then what's another one?
ECE.
And ECE. Okay. Are you wanting to be a teacher? No, you said something medical,
I
didn't
just like kids.
you? Okay. Well, good for you.
To get to work with people, I guess, in that.
Oh, yeah, that's
work with the
awesome.
public.
All right, now we also have to have some alternates. Do you know what alternates are?
Yes.
What's that?
Backups.
Yeah, in case you don't get ECE and digital technology, what's something else that you might want? We got to have 3 of them. Yeah, I know.
I'll be here.
So probably Intro to Business.
Okay.
We just write it in there?
Yes, you can just write it in there. Intro to business. What about, are you a singer?
Not really.
Okay. What about anything in ag? Probably had some ag classes in
Yeah.
middle school.
Yeah, they work with the plants and horticulture. And
It
some of
could
those,
be.
some
Now,
of some of those classes.
I think the basic ag, I'm not sure how much they do with horticulture, but eventually it could lead into horticulture. There's also drama, the theater arts. That's a
That
drama
one-
class.
Yeah, that one is one of them.
Usually, 9th graders are good with drama.
Oh, I know
Okay.
what you mean there.
And one more. We got to do one more. Art. You get a drawing.
Yes.
So art. Okay. So we'll put comprehensive art.
Should probably get these others, but just
Now,
in case. It's stuff.
yes, these are the ones that she's chosen. Those are her first 2 choices. But if we can't get her in those 2, then they'll start pulling from these down here.
Okay.
Okay. Now, quickly, I want to look at this. We did not go against any of the teacher recommendations, so we don't have to worry about that. The honors contract is here, right here, we're going to say.
Okay.
So there's the honors contract, and it just kind of goes over some of the basics as far as the rigor and what's required in honors classes, and both of you have to sign that and return that so that
You gotta
we
work a
can-
little harder in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then these last 3 basically are just saying that we've met together, that we've talked about, where you're going, what you're wanting to do, classes you're wanting to take, that you have a choice about. Also, if you have, if we sign you up for these classes right here, and you get any of these classes right here, you have to stay in these classes right here all semester. All year. Our whole schedule is built around requests. So once we request it, we already have classes there for it. And you can't just go, I don't like that teacher, so I'm not going to be there anymore. Or I don't like that subject, I can't be there anymore. You're going to have to suck it up and take it.
Now, do we have any time to change our minds?
We
from now?
do. I have, I think, a couple of weeks before I have to turn in the paperwork. So I always tell my students and parents, if you want to make any changes, do it by then and let me know, and then we'll make those changes, and then I'll turn it in. Once I turn it in, it's out of my hands, and it goes to the counseling office, and it's pretty much a done deal. So you do have a little bit of time to think about it. But anyway, so that's pretty much what 10, 11, and 12. So that's pretty much what 10, 11, and 12 go over, is just the basic. We sat here, we met, we chose classes. You understand once you get these classes, you got these classes. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we will sign these papers, and then we will be good to go. So it was very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Good
to
to
meet
see
you.
you.
Nice
Please
to
just
meet
stop.
you, Caitlin.
If you'll just send me an email if she's ever trouble.
I will do that.
We'll
No
make sure
problem.
that she stays on the line.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.